we bring out the candidates, we will be sorting through the questions to make sure that all the questions have to do with the actual powers of the district attorney, just to make sure that this debate is as effective and educational as possible.
All right, so before we begin with our town hall, I just want to make a few things clear. One thing that we only have one mic. If you all could please pass it between the candidates, that would be great. You'll have 1 minute to answer each. And if you could please refrain from making any kind of comments toward another one of your opponents, that would be great. So our first question is,
May I interrupt? Is this going to be for Mr. Montoya so we can get him the mic?
we're going to start on this side right here. So what are the current weaknesses or deficiencies in the DA's office, and how will you correct these deficiencies?
How long do we have to answer these questions?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. And didn't mean any disrespect by that, but I think part of the problem is there's not necessarily fairness. Depending on which prosecutor you get, you can get a completely different plea recommendation. I don't know how familiar you all are with the district attorney's office at large, but I do think that there are some cases that are being pursued that shouldn't be pursued, and some cases that should be pursued that are not being pursued. And so there's a lot of discretion that the district attorney's office holds, but ultimately, I think there should be more transparency, there should be more accountability, that we're not just before you when we were asking for your vote, that we're actually before you on a regular basis being accountable to the community that we serve.
I would agree with Ms. Dykes in the sense that there's not enough transparency. First and foremost, what I want to do is make sure that we develop a web page and also possibly a Facebook, just to keep the community more informed of the decisions that are being made within the office, especially when you're dealing with high-profile cases. I know that there have been decisions made by the current administration that the public is not happy with, but yet no public statements were made by the elected official, and therefore I want to correct that problem. I will be more engaged with the community and give the answers that the public is looking for. Again, I want to give prosecutorial discretions and get rid of these cookie-cutter policies that treat everybody the same, regardless of whether you have no criminal history or if you have an extensive criminal history. And we do need to start approaching DWIs and controlled substance cases as potential problems with substance abuse issues. I want to develop a mental health unit so that we don't criminalize nonviolent offenders.
I think the biggest deficiency right now is, like I said, we're still filing misdemeanor marijuana cases. Every year we charge 11,000 misdemeanors. 11,000 misdemeanors. That's family violence, that's DWIs, that's criminal trespass, that's shoplifting, and that's marijuana possession. Of those 11,000, 2,200 of them, more than 20%, almost a full quarter, are misdemeanor marijuana cases. And those are cases that are clogging up our docket, that are diverting our time and attention from the cases that matter, like the family violence cases, the DWI cases. And so I think one of the things that we can improve on is diverting those cases pre-arrest. Like I said, I think we should handle them like a traffic ticket where someone's given a citation, they show up, they take a class, and it's dismissed. I think that's one thing we can do. I think the other thing that we can do a lot better on is be more aggressive, like I said, on white-collar criminal offenses. I know those cases are really, really complicated, but I think we can develop a better specialty within the office to pursue those kinds of cases so that we don't...
1 minute.
Thanks.
I think the biggest overall deficiency of the current district attorney's office is that it's still doing business in the same way it has been doing business since Mr. Esparza was first elected almost 30 years ago. And the biggest reason why my motto of my campaign is forward thinking is because I want to change the thinking of the district attorney's office to the new era that we're entering. And I firmly believe that there is a criminal justice reform movement taking shape in this country and moving forward. We do see progressive prosecutors being elected in very large cities across the country, and I do believe in that movement. I think that we need to, for example, as I've said, treat vulnerable populations more fairly, and I don't think we need to be pursuing convictions for conviction's sake. The prosecutor's main duty is to pursue justice, not just convictions.
That'll be at that for that minute. Before we begin our next question, I would just like to remind the audience that we want to save all clapping or any, just clapping until the very end. Thank you so much. So if we could move the microphone back this way. Okay, I'm sorry, you're starting there, I apologize. So for the next question, what programs and policies would you implement as DA to reduce crime and increase public safety in the county?
I want to vigorously prosecute DWI cases. I'd like to try to cooperate with law enforcement agencies like the police department, obviously, but also the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission that regulates bars and restaurants and places that serve alcohol. Some of the problem with DWIs and why people get overdrunk in our community, I think, is because of over-serving in bars and restaurants. And I'd like to see the TABC crack down on that, and in cooperation with the DA's office. And I'd like to see better enforcement in the area of family violence. And in that regard, then, like my colleagues, I want to stop distracting the police by forcing them to take these misdemeanor marijuana cases instead of chasing down that low-hanging fruit of the old war on drugs. I'd rather see those officers answering calls.
So one of the priorities that I'd like to make, starting very quickly when I get in the office, is create a crime strategies unit. I think a lot of the cases that the police work on and that we prosecute, they're reactive. The crime happens and we prosecute it. I'd really like to implement a more data-driven, metric-driven process so that we can identify repeat high-risk offenders and proactively target them. So for instance, right now in our office, we have a separate gang unit that targets, gangs and transnational crime. And then we have a separate drug trafficking unit, which is kind of the same. I mean, they're targeting the same kinds of offenders. I think it would be really smart to put those units together and create a position for someone to look at the data and see where crime is actually happening and see what we can do to more proactively stop high risk or those offenders that have a propensity towards violence.
When you're talking about somebody who has been arrested for their second DWI offense, at that point in time, you need to start treating it like a potential substance abuse problem. So rather than just keep giving them the same old slap on the hand, we need to have stricter policies with the plea bargain offers, and we need to see about getting that individual into treatment. We also need to create a mental health unit so that nonviolent offenders quit getting arrested for criminal trespass and failure to ID. Obviously, if they're homeless vets, they probably don't have an identification on them. And we need to teach law enforcement that they need to be better respected and just how to approach people that are suffering from bipolar or PTSD in a more friendly manner. And let's get them the treatment that they need rather than criminalizing them and using the jail as a mental health institute and causing the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Prosecutorial discretion will stop the backlog that is currently clogging our criminal justice system.
I agree that we need to use a data-driven approach, that it cannot simply be, we're going to keep prosecuting cases as they come in with the same old, whatever comes in the door is what's assigned. I think that we need to work directly with our law enforcement officers and our law enforcement agencies to make sure that they have whatever it takes to keep dangerous offenders off of the street, and to the degree possible to keep them from offending at all. One of the things that I would love to implement is a community DWI task force, because once someone has already caused an accident and they killed a person or an entire family, or if they maimed someone, prosecuting the case does not make them whole. What if we were to bring all of the resources that we have in El Paso to bear to prevent these DWI fatalities before they happen? This is more than just prosecution. This is working with community partners to actually see that these people are off the street. I said it earlier, that if you actually look up the definition, you will see that it is a moral concept of fairness and rightness. So simply put, justice is what is fair and what is right. I mean, I think if we all just reflected back in kindergarten, we knew that when one child was treated differently than another, they got longer to play with the toy. We recognize innately what is unfair. Okay? And so I think that at large, we simply need to focus on what is fair. And then when we talk about what is right, it is not right that certain people in our society would have an advantage above others simply because of the money that they have, or simply because of I'll say a parent or a relative that has a certain amount of influence. We need to make sure that the system is working for everyone and that everyone can trust that it's fair or right, whether you're the accused or whether you're the victim. You want to make sure that it works.
Justice means that you do the right thing for the right reasons within the boundaries of the law. It doesn't mean that you need to convict everybody just for the sake of obtaining a conviction and saying, we've got the DA who is obtaining conviction upon conviction. We need to talk to the victims, ask them what it is that would make them feel compensated, and take that into consideration when we're making our plea bargain offers. We need to make sure that we're not causing the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars by incarcerating people who are nonviolent offenders and they're really suffering from mental illness, suffering from PTSD or bipolar disorders. We need to make sure that we look at a case individually and not use a blanket policy. That's causing the backlog. That is not justice. Because when we seek the same recommendation for somebody who has no criminal history, you're denying justice for somebody who is a real victim of the crime. And justice means that we uphold the law, we abide by the Constitution, and that we do not take a case to trial just for the sake of obtaining a conviction.
Justice is the product or the outcome that the community would be proud of. I want to be a district attorney's office. I want to lead a district attorney's office that the entire community can be proud of. That when I have my prosecutors resolve a case, I can say, look, this is the result that I can take to the community, and the community would say, that is fair, that is just. And deciding what is fair and what is just in each case, it depends. It's a balance between uniformity for different kinds of cases. I mean, we want people charged with the same crimes to be getting somewhat the same punishment. It would seem unfair to be, if someone gets, because they get assigned to one judge, they make a more harsh punishment or a less harsh punishment. But it's also, on the other hand, balancing what are the individual characteristics of a certain case, of a certain offender. And so justice, to me, it's not one answer. It depends on each individual case.
To me, justice means traditionally let the punishment fit the crime. And of course, that also necessitates a decision whether a crime has been committed in the first place. And so a prosecutor needs to exercise their discretion in making a decision whether or not to accept a case for prosecution, and then what recommendation to make a court for punishment if a conviction is obtained. But I think that justice also means rehabilitation in many cases. If all we're doing is punishing and we're not making any efforts at rehabilitation, we're not necessarily making the community safer. So for example, justice to me means treating the addiction problem not so much as a crime problem, but as a public health problem. If we can get addicts away from addictive behavior, we can get them away from criminal behavior, and thus make the community safer. To me, that is justice.
And for the next question, what makes you qualified to handle the 3 capital murders pending right now, including the Walmart shooting?
I've taken over 80 cases to trial before a jury, ranging in seriousness from Class C misdemeanor all the way up to and including a non-death penalty capital murder when I was a prosecutor. Having been in front of that many juries, having reviewed that many jury charges, having called hundreds of witnesses before the jury, having cross-examined hundreds of witnesses, including dozens of expert witnesses, reviewing expert testimony and challenging it in court, I believe that that qualifies me to handle those cases, as well as having 21 years of experience in handling a wide variety of practice areas: criminal, family, civil, probate, consumer protection, and understanding the interplay of all those legal systems.
I believe I'm the one uniquely and most qualified to handle those 3 cases because I've actually worked on them. For the past 6 years, all I've worked on are homicides. I've worked on over 100 murder cases since being at the DA's office. I've worked on the Walmart case. I've worked on the man that killed Sheriff's Deputy Peter Herrera. I've worked on the man that broke into that family's home on Signal Peak off of Hercules in Thanksgiving of 2018. I know those cases. I've worked on them. I know those families. And so I feel like I am the best qualified to ensure that we handle those cases appropriately because I've been involved in those process for those 3 cases since they happened.
I am the most qualified because I have practiced criminal law exclusively for nearly 20 years. And in addition to that, I've also added a family law practice since 2005. I have picked many juries. I have fought for the rights of parents and children, and that encompasses using your trial skills every single day. I am a team player. The district attorney is not going to handle the Walmart shooting by themselves. You need a strong administrator who knows how to put a good trial team together and understand that it's going to take at least 3 or 4 strong attorneys who can prosecute that case together. It's going to be a long trial, folks, and we need good, strong people who can work together. This is not a one-man show. This is going to take a community of lawyers within the DA's office to prosecute that case and make sure that it does not get overturned on its automatic appeal. Because of the fact that it is a death penalty case, it's going to be set for an automatic appeal. And having the strongest lawyers means that we need to maintain that conviction and that it does not get overturned.
So the disadvantage in being last is everyone has said amazing things, and it's going to sound like I'm saying what they're saying. But if you look, you can look on Fox. I said this on Fox on our interview that I'm qualified to take these cases to trial. In part, not just because I'm a lawyer, not just because I'm licensed, not just because I've worked in the DA's office and picked juries, and every single case that I tried as first chair, I won. But also because I recognize that it's not just about me. It's not about one singular person taking the ball, thinking that they're Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, and it's all about passing them the ball. Leadership is about mobilizing a team, and I would absolutely be a part of that team, but in no way do I think that the team should center around me. I should equip the team as a part of the team to do the absolute best job for our community at large, particularly all of the families that suffered the loss directly.
So we're going to begin with the closing statements now. So to conclude this event, each candidate will have 2 minutes to deliver their closing sentiments. And we will begin with Roger Montoya.
A vote for Roger Montoya is a vote for criminal justice reform. Criminal justice reform is a thing that is needed in El Paso, Hudspeth, and Culberson counties. We need to treat all of these cases, all criminal matters, with appropriate seriousness. We need to treat them with the seriousness of fighting for the rights of victims. Chapter 56A of the Code of Criminal Procedure embodies the rights of victims in the law, but the rights of victims should be in the heart and mind of every prosecutor who represents the people of the state of Texas in court. And not only the rights of victims need to be respected, but the rights of the accused. For if the Constitution protects the worst elements of our society, it protects all elements of society. And we need to make sure that justice and fairness, justice with integrity, is obtained in our community. The communities of Hudspeth, El Paso, and Culberson counties have seen business as usual for almost 30 years. And while I believe that the district attorney's office as a whole has done a fine job of helping to make ours the safest community in the country, at the same time, you can always do better. And I know that together, in partnership with the community, the district attorney's office under Roger Montoya can do better. Thank you.
Yes, you are next.
Oh, I'm next, okay. I want to be your district attorney for the same reason that I first wanted to become a prosecutor more than 13 years ago, when I first decided this is what I want to do, and it's to keep El Paso safe. This is the job that I love. I never wanted to be a defense attorney. I never wanted to get rich in private practice. I went to law school so I could send dangerous people to the penitentiary. That's what I wanted to do. And I think the DA's office here in El Paso is one that this community should be exceptionally proud of. It's a very competent office. It's a very professional office. And I want to keep it that way. We are facing the most serious crimes that we have ever seen here in El Paso, with the Walmart case and the murder of Deputy Herrera. The most serious crimes that have ever happened here. I know what it takes to make sure that those cases are handled correctly. I know the team that is working on those cases right now. I will make sure that our office remains, that continuity and stability are crucial on those cases, but I'm also aware of the places that we can make change and we can make improvements. I know that because I'm the one that's there right now. I'm the only one that's there right now. And I know where we can change, and I know where we can improve. I think ultimately the question that you all need to ask yourselves is this. If you were a victim of a crime, or your family, or your friends, who would you want fighting for you? Who would you want leading the office that has to represent you? Someone that actually does it every day, or someone who doesn't? That's the choice. That's how stark it is. And this is the line of work that there is very little room for error. It demands competence, honesty, and empathy. And I think I embody those qualities. And I think if you talk to any of the victims' families that I've ever had the honor and privilege of representing, they would tell you the same.
That's your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we'll be hearing from Ms. Dykes.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to Fill in the Blank. You all have done an amazing job. We've been going to forums all around town, and this is one of the most professional forums that we've been a part of, so thank you for doing an excellent job in that. My name is Karen Dykes, and I want to run, and I'm running to be the district attorney simply to serve our community. For me, it's not about self-aggrandizement. It's not about having a title or having power or control. It's really about recognizing the importance of that office and knowing that whomever is there, they're going to set the tone for what justice is or what justice is not in our community. And as such, I mean, I'm really grateful that I've been able to attain the endorsements from our law enforcement associations, the police association, the sheriff's association, CLEAT. They did not have to, but they've endorsed me because they work with me. They see me day in and day out, and they trust me to do what's right. Additionally, I've been able to get the endorsement of the Tejano Democrats, the Black El Paso Democrats, the Northeast El Paso Democrats. Again, all because they have evaluated our stances on whatever the issues are, and they believe that the right direction for El Paso is under the leadership of someone who is a person of moral conviction, a person of faith, and a person who actually has compassion, not just for the victims, but has compassion for our entire community. I have a commitment to do what is fair and what is right, not just when it's easy, but even when it's difficult, because sometimes the right thing is difficult to do. And so if you want to vote for justice, if you want to vote for integrity, if you want to vote for fairness, then I invite you to join the people that have confidence in me. Sheriff Wiles, Oscar Leeser, who was here moments ago, people like Commissioner Leon, Commissioner Robinson, who trust me to do what's right.
And lastly, we'll be hearing from Ms. Yvonne Rosales.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you to the students. You've done a wonderful job. We appreciate this opportunity. So I am the only candidate standing before you that actually took on the challenge to take on a 24-year incumbent at the time. I believe that change was needed, and I was the only person who felt it's time for me to put myself out there and bring change to this community. And I got 49% of the vote because people believed in me, and I had no political affiliations at the time that I first ran for office. Here we are 3 years later, and now I have the support and endorsement of the East Side Democrats, the West Side Democrats. I have people from the probation department helping me out in my campaign. I have people from the DA's office that are helping me out in my campaign. I have public defenders and people in the family courts that are helping me. Why? Because they have seen me at the courtrooms for the last 20 years, nearly 20 years, and they know my dedication to this community, my work ethic, and my integrity. And that's why they are supporting me. People who are working in the courthouse, within the criminal justice and the law are helping me with my campaign so that I can be your next district attorney. Unfortunately, Mr. Montoya is only 27 years old and only has 6 years of being a licensed attorney. That is not enough in order to run and be the administrator of nearly 200 employees. You need a strong administrative background. I am the person who has that background. Ms. Dykes did not prosecute felony cases.
Please refrain from making any comments towards your...
I'm just talking about their experience, but I apologize if you take that as an attack. I'm pointing out the facts that I am the most qualified individual up here, and I am asking for your support to be the next district attorney, because the Walmart case is only one out of the tens of thousands of cases that are being filed in that office, and we need to make sure the right person can handle all of the cases.
This concludes We Fill in the Blanks District Attorney debate for the 34th Judicial District. This debate would not have been possible without the help and commitment of the community. We would like to thank the candidates and their teams, Franklin High School, the tech crew, and everyone else who contributed to making this event happen. It can be costly to host debates like these, however, these events are free to the public. That being said, a donation box is located in the lobby, and any and all contributions would be of great assistance to our organization. Receipts can be given upon request. It is people like you who allow for We Fill in the Blank to contribute to the border community. We would like to remind you that early voting begins today, February 18th, and the election takes place on Tuesday, March 3rd. For more information on where and when to vote, please visit epcountyvotes.com or refer to the documentation we have provided on your chairs and in the lobby as well. Thank you all for coming, and please don't forget to join the Twitter conversation using the hashtag WeFitB34 and follow us on Twitter using the handle @WeFitB. Thank you all for coming and have a good night.
Could we have the candidates stay up there for a second, and the scholars that put on this event could get a group picture?
You guys can go.
You want to do it in front of the podium?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't take good pictures. Give it to your dad. Your dad takes good pictures.
That sounds like a great
Yay!
No, they're in charge of me. Oh, no, I'm... Okay, everybody smile. This is awesome. Everyone looking here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll do a couple more. 1, 2, 3. Let me take one.
soon as these last pictures are taken, you can go up and talk to the candidates.
Thank you. So, can I hold the candidates for 1 second? I just want to get a quick headshot.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much.